Ladies and gentlemen, a little over 24 hours or less than 24 hours officially, where we will be getting the final 53-man roster from the Buffalo Bills. The biggest storyline that we wanted to cover has ultimately been solved per a tweet from Sal Capaccio, which we will open the show with. But really outside of that, just a lot of speculation. We are all super excited because the Bills are set to face off against the Ravens in less than 2 weeks. Football is almost here. Jake, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
Feeling great. At the time of recording this video, we're 13 days out from the regular season, so exciting time. We're about to get the rosters finalized for the Buffalo Bills, and we can put preseason football behind us. It was nice to come out with a win for the Buffalo Bills, 23-19 down in Tampa Bay, but here we go. We got a win, and we're moving on to the regular season.
You love to see it. Z-Bot, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Jake said it well, right? Preseason done, thank God, and we got to end it with a nice little ribbon on top, a cherry on top. We were waiting to see these Bills show up in the preseason. They did this past weekend, so it was good to see them put their best effort forward. And then, like you said, Dan, 13 days away from Buffalo Bills football. I mean, you can't beat it. We're officially in the arm's reach, rather, of the finish line. I cannot wait.
13 days away. I cannot wait. Kevin, what's going on with you, man?
Excited. This is over. Excited. Roster cuts. You know, it's just a great time. 2 weeks away. Just a great time to like football, college football, all of it. So kickoffs very soon for Thursday night games next week. Couldn't be more excited to put all this behind us and see a roster. And will the Bills make moves? I think we'll see in the next 24 hours.
So we did end up teasing what we thought the 53-man roster was going to look like this past Thursday. We'll probably end up revisiting that at some point during this episode, but I think the main focus has to be what were some of the big standout performances from the preseason and maybe even some last-minute additions to said roster. And one thing that completely dominated the headlines was seeing that Jordan Phillips was making a return. And a lot of people automatically assumed the worst. They thought that Buffalo was now going to be walking away from players like Dwayne Carter, for example. They thought that maybe this was going to be a roster casualty. I saw a lot of people very upset with Brandon Beane for bringing him back for the 6th to 7th time. But per Sal Capaccio, like 5 seconds ago, right before we even went live, it sounds, to his understanding, that he is signing to the current active roster right now so he can begin working out in this interim time period while there was a space on the 90-man roster. He will be released and re-signed to the team's practice squad on Wednesday. Now, Kevin, right before you ended up joining us backstage, me and Z-Bot were like, not arguing, but like really asking the question, what sort of unique roster move is this? What is the point of just signing him on for 3 days only to release him again and then sign him over to the practice squad? What was the point of this? Because we heard from Talbot as well just a couple of days ago that this was not a practice squad signing. It was an actual 53-man signing. What are we seeing here? Because this is certainly unique from my perspective, at least.
Yeah, there's no practice squad till Wednesday, right? So the idea there is that he can come in, start working out, pump and iron, playbook, everything he needs to do. So he can't technically be in the building until Wednesday. The Bills must have felt there was a fundamental reason to have him 48 hours earlier be in the building. So they're going to sign him to the 90-man, have to cut him tomorrow. Being a vested veteran, he won't have to do anything, and he could just literally stay there and then wait to go on the practice squad on Wednesday. So that's the theory behind that. I mean, the couple days there are important to the team, apparently. But the practice squad makes a ton of sense, especially if he's not going to go anywhere. He's not going to get as much pay, but the Bills can do some guarantees and some things to where he makes more than a standard UDFA or something in return, basically freeing a roster spot. But, it makes sense. Like, ultimately, I wouldn't have cared if he was on the 53, at least for the first 6 weeks. It doesn't really bother me. I think he's done well. The last time we saw him, he actually got the ball back for Josh Allen to win a football game in the AFC Championship game. He's got a little juice left, rushes the passer super well. It doesn't really bother me as a fifth rotational defensive tackle while you have 2 defensive linemen suspended. There's really no issues here. So I'm fine to have him back, that minimum. Now that he's on the practice squad, that's even more gravy. I got no issues with any of this. I think it was a good move, and it makes sense. The Bills want him in the building today rather than Wednesday for their purpose.
Makes sense. And Zeba, what were your thoughts when you first saw this news crack your screen?
Well, I thought it was a bit odd when we heard that he was just automatically going to make the 53-man roster after all the moves Brandon Beane made this offseason at that position, to just immediately announce him, or seemingly announce him, rather. I don't really know. It seemed like it was kind of all over the place, but from my perspective, from what I was reading, it felt as though he was going to have a 53-man spot coming off the couch. So I was interested as to why now, and what was the reasoning behind that. I mean, Kevin just mentioned it. You have 2 players on suspension for 6 weeks, so maybe that was the mindset. But with all the guys added, especially in the draft, I was confused as to the full reasoning behind it if it were outside of those 2 suspensions, which Brandon Beane's been well aware of for months now. So hearing now that the mindset is more likely to bring him in the building and then have him on the practice squad makes far more sense than just immediately putting him on the 53. I like the signing, though. Why not have the guy in the building? Kevin just said it, right? He makes a big play in the AFC Championship. I think he's done some good things for Buffalo in the multiple stints in which he's been on the team. So no problem for me. It was more of a head scratcher as to why he was on the 53. I didn't think it was a bad thing necessarily. But having this cleared up now, so it seems, him being on the 90-man practice squad and available if needed, we know the injuries that the Bills have suffered on the defensive side of the ball throughout the last several seasons. So why not have a guy familiar with your defense ready to go? So I'm good with it. Glad to have Jordan Phillips back, and you're hoping that he's not going to be needed. That would mean the Bills are doing something right with who they've added up on the D-line, but good to have him nonetheless.
It's good to have him nonetheless. What about you, Jake? What were your thoughts on this one?
Well, with understanding of Jordan Phillips being designated to the practice squad, that completely changes the outlook of the signing. I think that it's a good move to bring back someone who, going into his 4th stint with Buffalo over the course of parts of 5 seasons. So obviously there's a lot of familiarity there. This isn't someone that you're going to have to groom and correct too much. He's going to come in. He's going to be able to be a serviceable replacement at any point in time, because injuries happen, especially on the such a physical position like the defensive line. So I'm all for it. Bring him back. And he's also just like, he's a fan favorite, wearing that winter jacket. There's someone who hypes up the crowd. So when he's out there, you love to see Big 97 out there.
So I got to tell you what, the second that the news crossed my screen, a lot of people started thinking, oh man, like what if so-and-so is on the chopping block now? I think Dwayne Carter was a name that was really flying around. Based off of everything we saw during the preseason matchup, has anybody come to the forefront in your eyes that you think now could potentially be on the chopping block, or there could be somebody who we didn't discuss this previous Thursday that could now make this roster? I'm going to start off with Jake on this one.
I don't think anything has really changed in terms of who's going to be on the cutting block there, because I think that that's pretty set in stone. And I think that what we had with the preseason here is just another opportunity for people to show what they can do out there. Like, I thought Deion Walker, I thought he had a great performance out there preseason week 3. I didn't really think anything stood out from a negative standpoint too much. And when you look at the addition of Jordan Phillips, I think that kind of just reinforces the idea that they're bringing in someone to the practice squad to help elevate some of these younger talented players that they have, help as a serviceable mentor for these young players as well.
So what do you got on that, Z?
Yeah, no changes for me, really, especially after this past weekend. I don't think anything dramatically stood out, especially in a negative way. Deion Walker, like you just mentioned, Jake, my God, he stole the show. What a fun watch he was. Tyrell Shavers, our boy, once again showing up and showing out. More confirmed what I had thought than I think sort of went against the grain there. So no changes in my book in terms of who made it or who didn't based on what we saw in Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm. And so what about you, Kev? So I know that there was one guy that may have snuck onto the team based off of some special team capabilities right within the linebacker room, like you mentioned yesterday. And I did forget to ask you about the quarterback room as well. Is there somebody on the move and a brand new practice squad QB that's going to be donning for the Buffalo Bills? Thoughts, man? Like, what were some of the big standout performances? Who may have done enough to sneak their way on the roster?
I mean, just like last year with, Football Joe is what they call him now inside the building. Bobby Babbitt says he's not Buffalo Joe. He's now Joe or Football Joe. So just like Football Joe, you saw Jimmy Charlo basically make a case for why would you roster Yolofosio? Do you really need, just like you did with Jordan Phillips, do you really need to use Shaq Thompson as a roster spot at this stage? Maybe if anybody gets claimed. So the numbers have come out with how many players get claimed. It's about 2% of everybody that gets cut gets claimed. And usually I think the Bills are in at about 2.3 players claimed underneath the Beane era. So per season. And it was 0 last year, surprisingly. So that tells you that they did maybe have a little bit of depth issues last year with all the dead cap they had from Stephon Diggs, etc. I think Jimmy Charlo would get claimed. I think he would be one of the 2 at most that would get claimed. I really think he plays teams that will get him on a roster. It's not the flashy receivers that everybody wants that they get claimed. Those are the guys that make it through to the practice squad, believe it or not, and everybody's favorite running back as well. Jimmy Charlo gets claimed, in my opinion. So the Bills may have to consider that on roster decisions, and maybe they take the risk and they think they can sneak him through. But all the publicity he's gotten, I think he's going to go at the very worst on a bad roster. So they would have to make that factor as they make their roster decisions. And they know they could probably get Shaq Thompson back to the practice squad like they did Jordan Phillips. So they're going to have to weigh a few things here. And Thompson hasn't really played. Like, if they have issues with Charlo or things are going on, you can make that swap at any point. So I think Jimmy Charlo made it. And yeah, Shane Buechele, he looked competent for a practice squad quarterback. That's the difference. Like, how many bad quarterbacks, even pre-Josh Allen, during Josh Allen, have we seen take games 3 or 4 back in the day of preseason look terrible? Like, literally throwing the ball backwards, like doing the craziest Matt Leinart or even Jordan Palmer, if you guys remember that. Just some crazy instances of bad quarterback play in this game. But you were able to evaluate offense and offensive line because Shane Buechele was competent. He was running the ball. He looked like a version of someone that could run Josh Allen's offense in an emergency. So I think he did everything possible to earn the practice squad quarterback. A couple of teams are looking for backup quarterbacks. The Bills have a couple assets they need to think about, Dan. I think you need to trade Mitchell Trubisky or Mike White. Whatever is up to the team, and whatever Josh says, whatever Beane says. One or the other should be traded for a late day round 3 asset. There are a couple teams without backup quarterbacks, in my opinion. So we'll see how this all materializes tomorrow. But Shane Buechele should be on the practice squad at the very least to sum it all up. I do believe he earned the key practice squad spot, and I know he's boys with Josh Allen. I know Haley Steinfeld loves him and his wife. So if that matters, we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, man, we will see if QB1's wife has anything to say about who is QB2 on this team. I would not be shocked.
Or at least 3. At least
3. Yeah, or at least 3. Only time will tell. So I think that for the most part, we may have gotten answers on the status of Cole Bishop, right? Like many of us, even this past Thursday, we were all but accepting that Hamlin may be the starter going into week 1. From what you saw from Cole Bishop during this final preseason matchup, was this enough for you guys to feel okay if Cole Bishop were to get the start on week 1 versus Baltimore? I'm going to start off with Z-Bot on this one.
I think it was enough to feel okay, but I guess the problem is was it enough for McDermott, right? I mean, has he really gotten enough reps to feel comfortable putting him out there week 1 against maybe the best team roster-wise in football outside of the Philadelphia Eagles? I mean, you're going up against the Baltimore Ravens team who is pissed off, coming into your town, looking to get a victory to avenge a terrible loss in the divisional round last year. Lamar losing the MVP to Josh Allen. These guys are fired up. That offense fired up. Obviously, we've been waiting for Cole Bishop to really stranglehold this role, right? To really lock in the starting safety position. And even though he looked good the other night, the problem is that that's the only real sample size we have of him looking good this offseason because he just hasn't been available. I still think for my money, it will be Damar Hamlin. Will it shock me if it's Cole Bishop? No, but I think the silver lining here, even if it isn't him week 1, you saw that he's at least healthy and, physically capable enough of being ready earlier than maybe we thought. Just because of him being out as much as he was, I wasn't entirely sure what the game plan surrounding Cole Bishop was going to be, but he looked good the other night. And not just good on the field, but in terms of health, he looked real solid all over the ball, moving exceptionally well. I don't know. I probably would lean right now like 60-40 in favor of Hamlin probably starting week 1, just because I think that's been the mindset all the way up till now. And I don't know if McDermott's ready to change it on a dime less than 2 weeks out here, but I don't think it would be the craziest thing in the world either. But the nice thing is here, he looks ready to go, and we will inevitably be seeing him in that role at some point here this year.
Mm-hmm. So for me, like, I just look at the opponent on week 1, right? And I could imagine that we're going to be getting a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, at least toward the beginning, especially with Lamar, who's allegedly like dealing with something wrong with his foot. I haven't heard if he was officially practicing today. So he was scheduled to practice today. But so the way that I look at it, I would almost prefer making sure that we have as many hard hitters out there as humanly possible. And while obviously we're all concerned about Cole Bishop's coverage, solid tackler, super solid when he's up in the box, I'd almost prefer, but again, like you just said, will McDermott feel the exact same way? Kevin, thoughts on Cole Bishop, and did he do enough to get the nod on week 1?
I'm just going to stay the course on the McDermott path / I guess Beane path to success. And that's the second-year jump start for the Bills defense. And honestly, even Bobby Babich has mentioned the correlations to Terrell Bernard in that fact of only playing 1 game against the Jets the previous year before his start. Looking average at best in that game against the Jets. Basically not playing a ton, playing the same amount of special team snaps that Cole Bishop played last year as a rookie. And then into the basically didn't really do much down and got hurt the next year as a sophomore to start the year. And everybody was like, Dodson is Hamlin in this case. So truthfully, like, I really believe, and the only difference is Dodson actually was like top 2 in PFF's like grades, which was hilarious. So at least like Dodson had some film that was decent. Hamlin is up for debate, I guess, on how everybody perceives his play. But I do think that it's Cole Bishop's job. I think he did enough. In that game. I don't know if it was make or break. It might have been, but he did show enough to where, especially against a run-heavy team, I think his liabilities early on in the season are going to be against the pass. But I think in the box and able to play that safety role, where he's coming to the line of scrimmage and torpedoing, and he's very good at it. And the Bills know how to at least contain Lamar Jackson. So I think that ultimately, he is the starting level safety for the roster. I mean, I think that's what they're going to do. I truthfully believe that he'll start day 1, and they saw enough from him in that to show, okay, this is who we're hoping he is. And he's got 2 more weeks to continue to develop in practice. So I think it's just enough time, similar to Bernard back 2 years ago now.
Bernard back. And what about you, Jake? Who is starting next to Taylor Rapp on week 1 with everything that you know now?
With DeMar Hamlin, you get a lot of what you already know. Now with Cole Bishop, there's a lot of unknown. We haven't seen him too much in live action, regular season action. Obviously, we saw him out there last year, but going into year 2, we saw him get some more reps in that preseason week 3 game. I believe those were meaningful reps for Cole Bishop, someone who has missed training camp time in year 1 and here in year 2. So I'm leaning towards Cole Bishop, although based off of what Sean McDermott has done in the past with he kind of hesitates a little bit. He wants to make sure that these players develop into a role first. He uses a lot of rotational pieces as they're young and developing. But I think right now is the time to make the move to Cole Bishop, see what he can do early on. And if it doesn't go the way as planned, you always have the option to switch back or use more rotation with DeMar Hamlin. But right now, I'm leaning towards Cole Bishop, day 1.
Some Cole Bishop on week 1. We will be getting answers momentarily. Not some Bills news, folks, but I suppose it is some AFC news. Sounds like the Cincinnati Bengals have finally come to an agreement with Trey Hendrickson. The final hold-in is complete. It's done. They've somehow were able to scrape enough pennies in order to get the guy paid. $30 million per sources, scheduled to become
on a 1 year, though. I mean,
on a 1 year.
Really interesting.
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid is right. I was thinking the same verbiage, Kevin. I mean, you want to talk about, hey, fine, here, have it, go into this year. I mean, you're right back to where you were next year, free agent. He's gone next year, no doubt about it in my mind. But you needed him this year if you wanted any hope. In the brief sample size, you saw that defense in the preseason. It was as bad as it was last year. I don't see it being considerably better out of nowhere this year without him on the field. But 1 year, 30 million, like all of this just to get to a 1 year deal. I don't understand Cincinnati at times.
So did y'all see that So the clip from AJ McCarron or something like that last week, where like he was sitting down with a podcaster and he was like, yeah, when I was in Cincinnati, some of the league issued gear, we weren't allowed to keep that, and we had to return it so that they could perform a garage sale outside of the stadium.
Did you see Boomer Esiason? Did you see that whole thing too? I mean,
no.
Boomer Esiason got invited to the Ring of Honor induction at Cincinnati, and they told him he had to pay for his own airfare and any ticket outside of two, and he had to pay for his own hotel. He's one of only like 8 names on the entire stadium wall, and they literally sent him the most generic email you could possibly imagine.
Like a discount coupon code for a hotel.
Yeah, they booked off a block like you do for a wedding, and they were like, here's the details, book soon or they'll be gone.
Oh my God.
Here's your like $40 off.
Yeah.
My
They're
God,
never beating the allegations, Dan. It's like nonstop.
they are never beating the
allegations. Not to
allegations.
mention like the big one on a football perspective, as you look at it, they're -$7 million on the cap right now. And they just gave him $14 million on a 1-year deal. Do you realize, like, I know you're trying to save money and you think you are, but $14 million on a 1-year deal is awful because that you have to account for that this year. That's like not smart cap movement. So,
oh my God,
where are they putting that $14 million raise?
Yeah, they could have kicked it down the line, signed him for multiple years. You're going to be right back to where you were next year.
Now you're not. Now you have to borrow from next year. So now you're putting all $14 million next year and don't have them next year.
Cincinnati, folks. Cincinnati never beating the allegations. Zim, I'm sorry if you're watching this. He is not a fan of me, Z-Bot. He is not a fan of my Bengals videos that I put out there. But it's because I'm telling him the truth. It's because I'm telling him the truth.
But he got himself a $14 million raise by a preseason defense looking worse than their last year defense. So good for him.
Yeah, well, hey, man, look, you know what? I really hope that he can get 17.5 sacks. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that they were still like 27th in pressure rate while still having the number 1 edge rusher in all of football statistically.
That team's a mess.
But I bring this up because the Cincinnati Bengals are on the Buffalo Bills schedule. And I do think that look, it's that time of the year. Like, we are less than 24 hours of understanding what the 53-man roster is going to look like. And then as soon as when that's all said and done, then all eyes are pointed to the regular season. So you know what? I have been pretty vocal about where I see this team finishing as far as a final record prediction. And I got to say, I love the way that the schedule is lined up for us. Mm-hmm. Once we end up getting past Baltimore, for the most part, I think the kids call it a cakewalk. That's what Buffalo has for the most part. So I'm curious to go around game by game and ask all the co-hosts here what their final record prediction is for Buffalo. And I'm going to start off with Jake on this one. Jake, let's start off week 1, the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens, win or loss?
Loss for the Baltimore Ravens.
There.
That's a win.
I see what you did there. Followed by the Jets. What do you got?
Win.
Miami.
Win.
Saints.
Win.
New England.
Win.
I think they're a 12.5 point favorite, by the way, against New Orleans right now, the last I checked.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm not even sure who their starting quarterback is. I'm not even sure.
They're not even sure. Kellen Moore is he's praying to somebody to give him an answer. He's got no clue.
And so it might be Kellen Moore himself. Who knows?
He could be out there.
So he could be out there tossing or Shane Bichelle. Hold up. Atlanta.
Win.
Oh my God. So we start off the season 6-0, ladies and gentlemen, per Jake. Let's get here. Okay. Followed by bye week. And we're going to Carolina. Sean McDermott's undefeated after a bye week.
And it remains that way this year.
Love it. Kansas City.
We'll take the regular season loss this year.
All right. Hey, listen, I am completely fine with that, to be honest with you. I'm not superstitious, but that tends to be what happens. We win in the regular season, lose in the postseason. I'm fine with switching off there. First loss against Kansas City. Let's go to Miami. Sunday, November 9th.
That's our second home. That's a win.
Beautiful. I love that. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Sunday, November 16th.
It's actually a pretty tough game, but in Buffalo, give me a win.
Okay, we're at Houston.
It's bad place, bad memories. Thursday night football. We'll take a loss there.
Oh, okay. So we have losses against Kansas City and the Houston Texans, followed by a visit to Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Win.
Cincinnati, Sunday, December 7th.
That's tough. Tough history. Give me a win there.
All right, that's perfect, man. Followed by New England,
Win.
Cleveland,
Win.
Philly.
Now, this is a time in the schedule where you're down to 2 weeks left in the season, so I'm not really sure exactly. It's going to depend on the seeding, exactly how much of the players we see. I get that it's the second last week of regular season, so it's not too much of a shift there yet, but these two teams that are expected to be at the top of their divisions, it could be a game that doesn't have too much meaning here. So regardless, I'm giving the Eagles a win. So a loss for Buffalo there.
Okay, and then followed by the last game of the season against the New York Jets. Who knows if we're resting starters? Maybe we're still fighting for the 1 seed. I don't know. What do you got?
Final regular season game in Orchard Park at Highmark Stadium. They're going to be wearing these red helmets right here. So,
Okay.
yeah, they're bringing them back in style, and they're closing out that stadium in the regular season with a win against the New York Jets. And I'd like to say the biggest question mark that I have from my schedule prediction is that week 1 game against the Baltimore Ravens, because of how the Ravens match up against the Buffalo Bills. They have that revenge factor as well. But we saw the way that the season opened last year for Baltimore against the Kansas City Chiefs. That revenge factor didn't really mean all that much. You remember when Isaiah Likely had his foot out of bounds, the back of the end zone. So that's a question mark for me, but I'll lean Bills win.
Dude, for some reason, yes, I'm nervous about this game. And I'm teetering back and forth of whether or not that we win it. But why is there a part of me that, we're just going to go out there and punch them in the fucking mouth on week 1? Why is there a part of me that just feels like that's going to happen? Maybe it's I'm biased. Maybe it's because I'm so desperate for football. I don't know. But I feel like we've seen this story before. Season after season after season. Last year was the Lions, for example. We were all nervous about the Lions, and then look what happened. I'm not concerned about their comeback in the 4th. It was garbage time. Kevin. All right, man. We have the 2025 regular season record prediction Sunday, September 7th against the Baltimore Ravens.
I've had a win here. I've always felt the win. I think they match up extremely well against Lamar Jackson, coming in, being able to game plan technically off of a bye because they're not playing. So I think that extra time helps the Bills a lot. And they always have a game plan for them. They were a little rough in the regular season last year, but they had a ton of stacked injuries and lost a couple more players in that game. I think it's a win at home in Buffalo. I truly believe that.
That is beautiful. We have the Jets, Miami, New Orleans, and New England. I'm just going to go ahead and lump those in together for time.
Yeah, I got especially 3 of them being home. I got all those as wins. New England, Atlanta. I got all those as wins going into the bye. So I got the same at this point. I have the same as Jake.
Same as Jake, 6-0 going into the bye. We go to Carolina after the bye week.
Yeah, he's undefeated and after the bye, and going to do whatever he can to beat Carolina. So they will take that.
7-0 with the Kansas City Chiefs coming to Orchard Park.
I think the Bills are a better team. They're a better roster. They're better than them, and it's home, and they always win in the regular season. They're winning. I have that as a win. We'll talk about that in the playoffs, come the playoffs, but I have that as a win. I truly do. I think this is the true path for the 1 seed. They're going to get some hangups here coming up in the schedule, but this is the true path at the 1 seed that the Bills are looking for.
All right, followed by Miami. I'm pretty sure we have a win there.
Yeah. McDaniel's fired after this game. That's my prediction.
And McDaniels is fired after this game, Sunday, November 9th.
Sunday, November 9th. Mark that down when they lose the division, basically, because we'll be 4 games ahead or whatever it'll be.
Fired during the middle of the season. Maybe even Greer loses his job the following offseason. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The Bills haven't lost at home in a long time. They really don't lose a ton of games at home. That 12 men on the field game in Denver, but they don't really lose at home. They win games, and this is the path to success for the Buffalo Bills. It's funny because I have this as a win. I just think the Bills are better than Tampa in every facet of the game. So I think we're going to have really high hopes. Everybody's going to be talking Super Bowl. They're going to be hit down to earth. I really think the next stretch here, they just don't win in Houston. So I gotta follow with history. If I'm having them beat the Chiefs because they do in the regular season, got to have them losing to Houston. They just struggle down there. Josh Allen's worst game in the last year was down there, year or two. He looked terrible. Yeah. So I just, for some reason, it's just not an amazing matchup. I'm going to have him have a loss, though, following that Tampa win and, having to come back down to earth. I have him as a back-to-back loss against Pittsburgh, actually. I think Pittsburgh will be playing for a lot. They'll be playing for a ton, and we're going down there. I think they'll do enough defensively. So that's my prediction is I got back-to-back losses after a super hot start.
And so you'll scroll on X and find people asking for Sean McDermott's job.
Correct.
Right?
After going whatever that is, 10 in a row.
2 losses, starting off with double-digit wins.
Yep.
Then dropping back-to-back, followed by Cincinnati. I'm sure Bills fans will be on the edge of their seats, nervous that Cincinnati is coming into town. More than likely, I think they'll probably be rated about 500, but that's when they're the most dangerous.
They are.
What do you got? What do you got?
Truthfully, they really are. They're dangerous at that point, but that also leaves their roster's not super deep. That's the time when their injuries start to pile up, and their defenses. I think the Bills win. I think they get revenge on them. It's a team that has always been played well against the Bills. Josh Allen needs a win against Burrow. I think at home the Bills win that football game. The defense is just too poor. It's not Lou Anarumo and those defenses of the past that were winning them playoff games. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah. All right,
they're not beating good teams right now underneath this roster.
Followed by New England in New England. A lot of hype around this up-and-coming team.
Yeah, I got a Bills win, unfortunately.
We got a Bills win. We go in there. We let them know. Not yet, young man. Not yet, Vrabel. Maybe next year. All right. We have Cleveland. Rating Cleveland. What do you got?
They don't even have it. They don't know what they're doing yet. So, that team's hoping to get the first overall pick, in my opinion. They're one of the candidates. And the Bills are going to need that game to continue to pace for the 1 seed. So 3 is the number. So they have 2 right now in my prediction. So the Bills win.
All right. And then Philadelphia. It's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. I got to go Philly. I think the Bills will be running pretty high, but Philly will be playing for the 1 seed themselves. I think the Bills match up pretty well against this Philly team, the way it's built right now. There's some deficiencies on the roster, not like there was last year, in my opinion. They've had to turn over a few things. I didn't love their loss of Milton Williams. So we'll see how they're able to rebound. They've been trading for everybody, which shows me that their depth isn't as great as they thought. They've been trading, triple trades yesterday?
Yeah. Quite a bit.
That proves that they're a little bit interesting needing depth, but I think Philly will pull this one off on the Bills, even though it's the only team Josh Allen hasn't beaten in his career. So that could play a fuel in this. And then they're going to go stomp the Jets in what I will perceive to be a 1 seed game. And maybe they'll lose to the Jets if they beat Philly. So I have either one of them as a loss, because I truly believe if they take care of Philly, the 1 seed will be locked up. If they don't take care of Philly, they'll need to beat the Jets. And they'll accomplish that feat if the 1 seed's on the line.
Give me the damn 1 seed. We have 2 back-to-back 14-3 record predictions.
Yes, sir.
I absolutely love it. Z-Bot. All right, man, you're up. We have the Baltimore Ravens Sunday, September 7th.
That's a win for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, I've had that penned in as a W for the Ravens since it came out. Look at the Bills. We've seen them be able to beat them when the lights are the brightest, but we've also seen a game last year in that same season where this team ran all over them, did whatever they wanted to. I think that the mindset for Harbaugh this entire offseason has got to be pinpointed on week 1. They have looked nowhere near towards the rest of the schedule after looking at having to open with the Bills on primetime. I mean, they ended their season last year in a somewhat embarrassing fashion based on how the Ravens found a way to lose that game. Then the Lamar Jackson angle. I got to give it to the Ravens here. I just think both teams great. The Ravens might want it a little bit more in week 1, and I think they're going to take it in week 1. Bills start 0-1.
Bills start 0-1, followed by the stretch right before the bye, the Jets, Miami, Saints, New England, and Atlanta.
Yeah, so the beauty of this is when the Bills lose to the Ravens week 1 and everyone says the season's over, they'll be 5-1 heading into the bye, feeling pretty good during that week off.
Feeling pretty damn good. Just don't scroll on X according to Z-Bot after week 1, ladies and gentlemen. Just don't do it to try and preserve your sanity, for the love of God. All right, man. We have a bye. We come out at Carolina.
That's a W, big time.
All right, perfect. We have the Kansas City Chiefs at home once again.
W as well.
W as well, man. I love it. At Miami, and potentially Mike McDaniel's last game as a head coach.
I mean, he's lucky he's still there by that point. I mean, I think Kevin's being a little gracious, but this could be the feather in the cap that ends up being the ultimate demise of Mike McDaniel. But that's a W, no question.
Oh my God, we have Baker Mayfield and that crazy wide receiving core they're bringing up into Buffalo on November 16th.
Low key, one of the toughest games on the schedule. They've always played exceptionally well against the Bills. It's always been a tough game, really. I mean, even the last time they played on primetime, it came down to the wire. If you remember, there was just a bunch of flags all over the place. Baker Mayfield had a chance to win it at the end and didn't. The Bills are just a better team, and it's in Buffalo. That's where I give them the edge, where I just think that they're good enough to win, whether it's home or on the road, but in Buffalo, better team. I like Tampa. They'll win their division. They'll be in the playoffs once again, but the Bills take it.
I'm excited for this 3-game stretch here. This is the 3-game stretch that I had 1 and 2, Jake had 2 and 1. So I'm interested to see what we got here.
All right. We have Tampa Bay, and then we have the Houston Texans in Houston.
Much like the Ravens wanting to go to Buffalo and win week 1, I feel like Josh Allen wants to go and win in Houston in prime time against the team where Kevin said it. I mean, that was as bad a game Josh Allen has played in a very, very long time. And they still, at the very end, still could have won that game. As bad as they played, they had that game. And I'm sure you remember the horrific play calling backed up towards their own goal line that wound up sealing the deal. No Stephon Diggs factor either in this game, by the way, which maybe was something that was riding on the minds of that team going into, I don't know how much, but it was something. I think the Bills are going into Houston and winning. Josh Allen needs to get his revenge in this particular situation. He knows how bad he played in that game last year. That'll be on his mind.
Damn. All right. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are winning that game. I got to see. You asked me a month from now what I'm seeing from Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. Maybe I'm singing a different tune, but I got to see this offense be somewhat competent before I can pencil in a W here for Pittsburgh. They always wind up winning a game or 2 or even 3 every single year that they have no business winning. Maybe that's the case. I don't think it would shock anybody, but as of right now, I got to give it to Buffalo.
All right. 11 straight wins for Z-Bot's schedule?
Yeah, listen, I'll just make it easy for you. I got losses on the bookends and I got wins and everything else. I got 15 and 2. I got the Bills winning week 1. I unfortunately think that Philadelphia game was a scheduling casualty. I don't know why it is scheduled when it is. I have a feeling both those teams might have their seating locked up at that point. And because of it, I think the Bills just end up beating Philadelphia because I personally think Philadelphia is a arm's length better than anybody else in the NFC. And I think that they will have their seating locked up. And if the Bills do what I've set up until this point and they beat Cincinnati and they beat Kansas City and they beat Houston, my guess is the only other team vying for that 1 seed at that point is Baltimore, and they will have the upper hand on them with the head-to-head that I've given them. But with their division, I don't think Baltimore is going 15 and 2. It's just way too tough. So I think the Bills, quite honestly, with this schedule, might have it locked up in week 17. And that's why I have them losing to the Jets in those red helmets, unfortunately. Another scheduling casualty where they decided to end the year with those. I get it. I get the mindset last game in the route for the regular season, but I would have liked to have seen them at another time because I got a good feeling Josh Allen's not going to be in that game other than his ceremonial first snap of the game to get his start in for his streak there. But
consecutive starts. Yeah.
The benefit there to Z-Bot's prediction too is if for some reason Baltimore is pacing, you have the Jets at home with red helmets with being shut down to win that game. So if they do pull off Philly, I believe that they would have the 1 seed locked up. But if they didn't, they have another opportunity at home against a Jets team. So they could even go 16 and 1 if they had to.
I mean, if that Philly game is meaningful, if both of those teams are vying for the 1 seed and need that game to get it, that is going to be the game of the year in the NFL. I mean, I don't know how it couldn't be.
That was the hope, I think, that they're vying for 1 seeds.
Definitely. For some reason, I just think one of them pulls away to a point where they don't need it. But yeah, like you just said, Kevin, that was the mindset and it's risk reward, right? I think they're gambling on that. They could end up folding if it ends up not being meaningful. But if it is meaningful, I mean, that could shatter ratings in that 425 window.
Even swap the New England and Philly game, really, for the scheduling purpose. Even make Philly a couple weeks earlier. I think they would have gotten a great game. Like they did the first time they played. It was like early December, right?
And it'll be interesting, too, like you mentioned it, knowing that you'll have the Jets on the opposite end of that if you do lose that game. I mean, you're going to go into Cleveland having a very, very good idea of either you having the 1 seed or what you're going to need in order to get it. To have Cleveland in the Jets to finish off 2 of the last 3. And I know we're ready to say New England's taking that step forward. I know I am, and I think they're going to. But what's that step going to look like? Is it going to be to the point where they beat Buffalo in a massive game like that? Yeah, I don't know. But Cleveland Jets at the end of the year there, that is a huge benefit to Buffalo in terms of the seeding.
Yeah. No, man. Listen, I'm probably on the same page as you guys. I'm thinking about 14-3 as well, except for I do have us losing to Tampa Bay. For some reason, I just I really like that wide receiving core. I understand that we're at home, but so on the few occasions that Baker Mayfield has played us, he's done pretty well. He was that close right into beating us last time, and I really love their wide receiving core. Love the run game as well. So I think that that's just going to be like one of those like head scratchers. I see us losing back to back. We have Tampa Bay, Houston. Hate that game. And then last but not least, I'd probably agree with you guys. It's either going to be Philly or the New York Jets. And us losing to the Jets would be because we're resting our starters and we already have that 1 seed locked up.
So you got them undefeated in November.
Either. We're trying to make sure they don't get the first pick, just like we did last year.
Yeah. And like one thing is too, I've been trying to convince people. I'm like, look, like do not think that the sky is falling. If, for example, we lose to Baltimore on week 1, do not think that the sky is falling at all. Because like when I look at all of the potential contenders that could potentially get that 1 seed, by and large, so the Buffalo Bills are playing the AFC East and the NFC South. All right. I think that's a pretty favorable schedule as far as the divisional scheduling. When you look at the AFC North, they are all playing the NFC North. So they need to play the Vikings, the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions, maybe even the Chicago Bears have something to say about that. And the Kansas City Chiefs, who their own division is looking very, very good as well. And I want to say that their NFC division is also highly, highly competitive. Like we have, I'm pretty sure, like a top 5 easiest schedule right in the NFL. Like we would need to see a crazy injury or us shoot ourselves in the foot like no other for us not to get that 1 seed gift wrapped for this upcoming playoffs. And say that we don't get it, then I think that we're really not living up to much expectations. I'm not sure of anybody else's thoughts on that.
I would agree. I mean, this year is the year to do it. They haven't had it. I mean, there's so many I've been saying this since the schedule drop where I just don't know how you could have a better year with the schedule lined up the way it is, the last season at the Ralph. I just think that Kansas City, I mean, after that loss last year in the Super Bowl, how many games did they win last year where you sat there and just said, there's just no way. I mean, there's just no way. And literally 11, 12.
That was an anomaly.
It can't happen.
That was not greatness. Like that was literally an anomaly of how many of 1-score games they won in a row. It was insane.
It was insane. And the Bills were destroying teams, absolutely dismantling teams.
Field goal. Like, that's how ridiculous that was.
Blocked field goal against Denver. Aiden O'Connell just dropping the ball on that one play, which was unbelievable. Thanksgiving weekend there. Just a litany of stuff that can't possibly happen that way. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, it's going to reverse to the fact that they end up going 9-8, but I think it reverses to the mean where they end up going like 11-6 or 12-5. And I think that's opening the door for the Bills to get the 1 seed at a 13-4 or 14-3, 15-2 type scenario.
Yeah.
The schedule is ready for the taking. We haven't had a schedule. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like it's an easy schedule because they still play the first place schedule. You still got with Tampa. We've talked about Tampa. They're sneaky. We talked about, Cincy can turn it on at any point. And that's the time of the year they play well. They just always suck in the beginning, which we played them in the first week, which Baltimore and Cincy would flipped. But ultimately they play super well down the stretch. So that's not going to be easy. We'll see what Pittsburgh is. They could either be a joke or be really legitimate by the time we play them. So there's a couple of and then you have Houston, which could be anything from that defense being legit all the way to sucking like it did at the end of last year. So like there's so much variation with the schedule that it's easy. Like to me, like as easy as it can be, the Bills need to produce in the schedule, as does anybody. But it's as easy as it can be. If you can't beat, you're talking about losing to Cleveland and Cincinnati. And I mean, if you can't, Atlanta,
you can't have the Billsy loss. You can't have the Billsy loss. And they didn't have it last year. I mean, that's the thing. You also look at the Chiefs schedule too. It is horrific. They have to open the season up in Brazil. Not easy against a Chargers team that I think is going to be looking to try and take that next step under Harbaugh. But the first 4 weeks, 3 of the 4 games, Chargers in Brazil, Eagles, Ravens, and then 2 of the 3 games after that, or 3 of the 4 games after that, Lions, Commanders, Bills. I mean, it's murderer's row for that team to begin the year. I know it gets tougher for the Bills later on, but the Bills could have a very good idea of what the picture looks like. Yeah, going into the back.
They need to capitalize that lead. They need to be 7-1. Like that is the number. They have to be 7. They can lose Baltimore, no problem. 6-2 at the absolute worst, but you have to be at that level. Like and then you're really pacing for the 1 seed based on the schedule. But Kansas City always has, I hear it all the time how good their division's going to be, and it ever is.
Yeah.
So sometimes people have threatened us with a good time with like the Jets or the Dolphins, but they're the same way where I hear about it. I hear Denver's good, or LA's good, and they never are. So at least good enough to put in. I mean, and Kansas City goes and sweeps their division. So that's what it comes down to. Is their division actually finally better, or is it the same junk that they've always got to play with, where they're blocking field goals to win games against Denver?
It's the same propaganda. It's the same propaganda we hear every year. And go ahead, Jay.
I think the biggest benefit of this schedule for Buffalo is that majority of their hardest games come at home in the final season at Highmark Stadium. You got Kansas City at home, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, Baltimore. These are some tough contests that you have the benefit of going out in front of Highmark Stadium, in front of Bills Mafia, in the elements at Highmark Stadium at home. This is a team that was undefeated at home last season, so hopefully some of that momentum carries over into this season for those matchups against those tough competition.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the Chiefs here. I mean, and Kevin, you said it's so hard not to think that might be the best coach division in the history of the sport based on what they currently have right now. If the Chiefs just run rabbit on it again, then it's just, I mean, I don't even know what glimmer of hope we can cling to anymore. If they just roll over these teams once again, but that's the benefit. As easy of a time as the Chiefs have had, I think, what have they won, 6 or 7 in a row? The nice thing is the Bengals and the Ravens, it's just there's no way either of those teams are ever sweeping that division. So that's the benefit there. The Bills truly have a Tom Brady type setup with the AFC East right now compared to what the rest of the AFC is dealing with.
It's nice. Yeah. It's nice to see, man. About damn time. But folks, I mean, thank you so much for tuning in to your favorite late afternoon Bill show on the internet, the Bills Roundtable. If, for example, you are new here and you are just joining our live chat, thank you so much for showing all of that love. Please do us a favor, like this video, subscribe, and turn on bell notifications. Same exact thing goes for anybody watching the replay of this episode. We've been over like 2,000 views, like 1.5K views, I think, for the first couple of episodes, which is awesome. So make sure, if you don't want to miss an episode, just make sure you subscribe and turn on those bell notifications. We are live Mondays and Thursdays all season long. Jake, what do you have to say to the audience before we let them go?
13 days until the season opener at Highmark Stadium, closing out this stadium with a bang. I'll be there at the home opener, every home game this season, so I hope to see you all there. Stay tuned. Sure. Go Bills.
Love to hear that. Z-Bot,
real quickly, sorry, Z-Bot, the Bills cut Mike White, just so.
Yeah.
Oh, Shane Buechele did his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry, Z-Bot.
I kept saying Buechele, by the way. That was when I first saw his name. Yeah, that's what I. So
like
that's
Michelle, like Michelle.
Yeah,
Buechele.
I know. So that's like my inside joke with myself now. I call him Buechele because I looked at it. I thought that's how it was pronounced. But yeah, I mean, 13 days, right? That's all I'm looking at right now. Killer college slate coming up Saturday. That'll help us get through. A week from Thursday, NFC East kicks us off. We'll see what Schottenheimer and a healthy Dak got against that unbelievable Philadelphia team. But thanks for tuning in as always. It's been a grind right throughout the preseason, so we can't wait to spend the season with you, and we're almost there.
That's what I'm talking about. Kev, what do you got?
The Bills are predicted based on the schedule we just went through. They're predicted with their advanced analytics and EPA to be number 1 in scoring at 26.6 points per game. And I love those stats because I think there's some analytical approach to how they feel that these games will go based on everything we all discussed today. So looking at it that way, there is a path to the 1 seed, Dan, and I think it starts a win against Baltimore. I don't want to overstate a week 1. You can't win anything in September. You can lose something in September. I don't want to state it as high enough, but for a week 1 and having to play them sucks. The rest of the schedule does become favorable. But having to get that out of the way early because that tiebreaker with the win, I want to say the path to the 1 seed then becomes crystal clear if they take care of them in Kansas City. There's a path to actually hopefully being healthy for the division round this year with an easier opponent than having to play freaking Baltimore or Kansas City in the division round. So it starts week 1. I hate to say it that way, and I'm not going to overreact to losing, but you can certainly put yourself in a good position to win the 1 seed with a W. And I hope the Bills have that mindset at home come that opening day.
So I'm very timid about that game, but again, I will reiterate that there's just something in me that's feeling a punch in the mouth ass beating on week 1 for some reason. I don't know why.
Hope you're
Don't
right.
know why. Damn, I'd be thrilled. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up sign, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Go Bills.
Quarterback too.